Hi everyone, Ryan Duffy here from Precision Microbes, and we're back again with another Tech in 10. Now today I'm by myself, but I'm going to focus on what Tommy already has focused in on, which was autumn calving, and we'll start with bovine colostrum. It's something we're all very familiar with, but the importance of it can never be undermined. Now Matthias, I have 10 minutes, so he's after hitting the timer there. So we'll focus in on bovine colostrum or beastlins, and why am I focusing in on that today? Well, we know calves are born with an immature immune system, not necessarily no immune system, but really immature. And that is because of the anatomy of the bovine placenta. There's a syndesmochorial placenta, which means that the bloodstream of the dam and the calf never mix. So calves are born agammaglobulinemic. Ultimately, that means with no antibodies in their immune system. So colostrum isn't just all about immunity. It's rich in nutrients, immune components and growth factors, which all play a role with developing the calf. So from a nutritional perspective, twice as many total solids, twice as much fat, 3 to 4 times as much protein, and that's a real reflection of why it's really, really rich in immunoglobulins. And that's really why we're starting to see, it being thick and yellow. Now, we also have a lot of vitamins, particularly A vitamins, B vitamins, and vitamin E. And we have more calcium, magnesium, selenium, zinc within colostrum. So it's a really, really incredibly valuable feedstuff. From an immune component perspective, we do have immunoglobulins, as we've already mentioned. About 90% of them are immunoglobulin G, which we're actually testing for in most commercialized testing systems. But we also have immunoglobulin A and M, things that actually provide defenses along the mucosal systems. On top of that, we actually have maternal white blood cells or leukocytes. Macrophages, lymphocytes from the dam are actually going through the colostrum and going into the calf, and they're incredibly good at fighting off infections. We also have antimicrobial factors like lysozyme, lactoferrin, lactoperoxidase. So there's a number of things in here which don't have any nutritional role, but they have a massive role in actually defending the calf against pathogens. Growth factors, you can see there's a ream down here of things which are very important for the development of the gut, development of the mucosa, brush border membrane enzymes, and even the height of the villi. So really, really important components there that are often overlooked. We have actually categorized these as non-nutritional bioactive components or factors. And the reality is we've been really focusing in on nutrition here when we look at colostrum, milk replacers, and so on and so forth. But there is definitely bioactive components within ordinary milk and colostrum that we shouldn't overlook. There's clearly big value in them. But when we look at actually focusing in or measuring colostrum, how do we know if something is successful or not? And we often have been saying that the 1, 2, 3 rule. First milk within 2 hours and to give 3 litres. But I kind of want to expand out on that, and that is by looking at the 5 Qs, which is quality, quantity, quickly, cleanly, and quantification. And I'll get into why that is. I think it's the next natural progression. Everybody knows the 1, 2, 3 rule, so important, but how could we make it a wee bit better? A wise man once told me, progress over perfection, and I think this is the next level of progress. So if we're looking at quality, the first Q, what we're aiming for is 22% bricks on a refractometer to tell you that the quality of the colostrum is really, really good. Over 50 grams of immunoglobulin in a litre. Quantity is the next one, and everyone kind of has always historically said go in with your 2.5 to 4 litres, so on average 3 litres of colostrum, 8.5% body weight of the calf. But what we're ultimately trying to achieve here is calves with over 100 grams of immunoglobulin within their bloodstream. So again, if we are trying to aim for 22% bricks, we need to give at least 3 litres of milk that has 50 grams of immunoglobulin. So we're aiming for over 100, so the two of them are very closely linked. Quickly, again, everyone's very, very familiar with how quickly we need to be doing things. If we're waiting an extra hour between harvesting milk or the colostrum and actually giving it to the calf, the quality that immunoglobulin level is going down by 3.4% per hour. Another study has actually shown that at 6 hours, 10 hours, and 14 hours, the quality of colostrum has gone down by 17, 27, and 33%. So there's no point in us losing out on the opportunity to get more and more antibodies into a calf. Get it in as quickly as possible, ideally within the first 2 hours. Cleanly. Now, this is probably an area where we can definitely make progress. And that's not just opinion. You know, the peer-reviewed literature is saying this, that if we're measuring total bacterial counts and total coliform counts, measures of dirt within our harvesting equipment. In the Republic of Ireland, we're looking at 57% of harvesting equipment being too high. Northern Ireland, it's even higher. It's over 80%. Scotland, 30%. And it's fairly consistent throughout the literature, be you in Canada, in New Zealand, in Ireland, in England, in Wales. This is clearly an area where we can make massive improvements. And why is that? Because if we have bacteria in there, they're actually going to bind up the antibodies, so they're going to be useless for your calves. So it makes perfect sense that we have clean equipment and ultimately we get more antibodies into our calves and avoid this horrible thing of failure of passive transfer. So clearly we should be looking at dump buckets or whatever way we're milking cows. We should be looking at clean teats. And if we're using milking systems, certainly clean liners. And that's going to benefit from calves having less failure of passive transfer, less calf diseases, but also from a mastitis front. If you've had a high cell count last season, we don't want to start spreading something with dump buckets fairly early on. On top of that too, you don't want to start any new season with mastitis within the first few weeks. So clean, clean, clean. The best way to do that is just rinse with cold water, hot water, and then use some form of peracetic acid. And again, clean the teats with a pre-milking teat disinfectant. And that's what's been shown to get these numbers down. It's a clear area where we can make an improvement, and it's a clear area we should be focusing in on. Then quantification. How successful are we getting the colostrum out of cows? And how successful are we getting it into calves and into their bloodstream? It's something we should be measuring. So 10 healthy calves within the first week of life, not the first hour of life, to see how those antibodies have translated across the gut and into the calf. So that's pretty much bovine colostrum and failure of passive transfer. Just from a data perspective, it is worth noting that if we look at the All Ireland Animal Disease Surveillance reports over the last 5 years, in Northern Ireland, over 45% of calves submitted to the laboratories in the north and blood samples submitted were indicative of failure of passive transfer. In the south, it's 27%, and in the UK, 26%. So again, there's clearly areas where we can make improvements. So bovine colostrum, autumn calving season is just upon us. Just remember how important this is. Cleanly is definitely an area where we can make massive improvements, and we should be seeing these numbers go down over time. Thanks very much for listening.